This live is not going to be long, but I did want to do the live because I feel like it's important to document this conversation. So last night I was on the phone talking to one of my first mentors, who is an elder to me. Um, Shout out to Miss Alex from Bogalusa. Um, just so wise, yet day on the earth, and I have so much respect, for her. Um, for all intents and purposes, she's a trans person, but she's comfortable with all the pronouns. She don't mind being called he. If you identify her as a male or as a man, um, she not fucked up about it. And I think it's the generation that she comes from, and also just being raised up in a more rural area, because I was born in New Orleans, but I grew up in Bogalusa, Louisiana, from age 6 all the way up to like 16. And yeah, this was like the first person who really saw me and was like, just kept calling me. I would go over there. My grandmother would send me over there to get my hair cut, and she would be like, you my sister. Like, she'd be like, sister. Like, and eventually I just was like, you know what? You right. But anyway, we was on the phone running it last night, and we was on the phone for like 2.5 hours. We was just running it, and it got me to thinking about a theory today. Like, we always hear the angry black man, the angry black woman, and um, we live in a society that uh, tries to restrict our language. Under the guise of being able to speak professional, being able to speak with decorum and tact, and all of these, um, all of these reasons for us not to um, dive into the full scope of our range, our vocal range, our utterance, like the type of sounds we're able to make, you know, um, whether they be vulgar, whether they be loud, whether they be distasteful, whether they be rude. Um, a lot of people get nervous when, beings with too much melanin start using words and using language and tones and utterances that make them feel uncomfortable. And so here's my theory about why. Now, I've said multiple times that I do think that everything originates from darkness or the deep. In my opinion, um, the deep and the dark are the same place. This is my theory. The deep and the dark are the same place because if you go deep somewhere, it's going to be dark. If you go deep into something, it's going to be black. You're rarely going to go deep into something and light is going to be there. So when you go deep into something, you're going into the dark. You're going into a darker part where you're going to need some type of makeshift light or artificial light, or be genetically featured some type of light in order to see your way around. But typically when you venture into the deep, you venture into darkness. And so, because I believe that things come from the void, come from the deep, or come from the darkness, everything originates from this dark place. um, I could imagine that those first utterances, those first sounds that emerged from the deep, uh, those tremblers, those quakes, you know, Like if you've never heard these noises and these sounds and these utterances coming from this dark place, coming from this deep place, it's gonna be scary. It's gonna be eerie. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be strange. It's gonna make it will make you feel uncomfortable. And so I think that darker beings are the first beings to emerge from that void. I think that darker beings are the first beings to emerge from the deep. Now, this is where a lot of people get things twisted. Just because you was the first, so by saying that darker people were the first, I'm not saying that darker people are better. I'm not saying that darker people are more important. I'm not saying that darker people are superior to lighter people. I'm just saying that I believe darker people came first. Now, the same goes for technology. The first computer you create, do you want to use the first computer or you want to use the latest computer? Which one you think gonna work the best? That old ass computer, the first one, or this new computer that we just made? Now, the old computer, just like the old computer may be made of more valuable parts. Same thing with any technology, like older cars. They were made of more quality material, but can they do everything that a newer car can do? And so just because something is the first, it doesn't mean it's better. It just means that it's different and it was created for a different purpose with a different intention. And um, it may have more resolve. It may have more endurance. It may be built to endure more. Okay. So that's not saying it's better. That's just saying that it was designed different and it has a different type of endurance. So it's not a flex that something is the first because a old computer or old phone with outdated technology, sometimes that shit runs slow. That should be on analog. So it's not always a flex to be like, we was the first this, we was the first that. So when I say that ebony people or deeply melanated people were the first, it's not me flexing, it's just me scientifically saying what makes more sense to me. If it emerged from a dark place, if it emerged from the deep, hey, Lindsay, if it emerged from the dark place, if it emerged from the deep, then it makes sense that the first entities or the first beings or the first life forces to emerge from that space would have been, would have had a concentration of melanin, would have had a concentration of darker skin. And so this is what I think. I think that those beings being the first to emerge from source has these the first beings to emerge from source would have like the capacity um to connect with creation sounds, to connect with destructive sounds. And I think when certain aspects of our species or certain beings of our species hear certain sounds from black or deeply melanated people, they hear the sounds of potential destruction. And so, if you're trying to hold this reality together, if you're trying to hold this matrix together, and you've got these beings that are connected, that are a direct manifestation of Source, who are directly connected to Source, perhaps more directly connected to um, other aspects of our species, and they start making these utterances that sound destructive, and you're trying to maintain something, you're trying to keep something going, and you hear these utterances, these these tones, that that have the capacity to not only create but also the capacity to destroy. And it's a concentrated, it's so concentrated and potent that it has the ability to manifest destruction and to manifest devastation really quickly. Like if you see a whole mob of angry black people and they're really, really angry. You know, a whole mob of angry indigenous people, a whole mob of deeply melanated, angry people. That's a the reason why that evokes fear. The reason why it evokes um, discomfort and the reason why it makes people so uneasy is because you are hearing sounds that you have been trying to suppress because those sounds and those utterance come from source and have the power to end the game if channeled appropriately, if focused. That frustration, that tension, that anger that is connected to source, directly connected to source, it has the power to wreak havoc and destruction. And this is why a lot of people fear black anger. This is why they fear black aggression. This is just my opinion. This is just a theory. This is why people fear when we go to screaming and hollering and cussing. They try to demean it and make it sound ignorant. But when an earth quakes, when a volcano blows, when typhoons hit, when oceans crash against the shore, I'm sure that's not a pleasant sound to the things that are in its wake, to the things that are in its path. Like if you're close enough to when you hear a a sound that you know has the power to destroy whatever is in its path, it is not a pleasant sound. And so I think spiritually, I think telepathically, I think internally and spiritually, beings amongst our species, when they hear that anger, when they hear that rage, they don't just hear an angry black person, they hear an utterance capable of destroying the psychosis, the illusion, the delusion that they're trying to maintain. And the truth of the matter is that it's all necessary. Destructive sounds are necessary. Healing sounds are necessary. And black people, we don't just make sounds that destroy. We're not always angry, and a lot of us have eaten a lot of shit to get to where we are, and some of us refuse to eat any of it. Some of us just not gonna eat no shit. Some of us are gonna vent and rant and express. We ain't all gotta eat shit. And so when y'all hear that noise, some of y'all get uncomfortable because what you hear is the bill coming due. You hear the storm, you hear the thunder, you hear you hear the source, you hear the capacity to destroy, and it frightens you. because a lot of us are working hard to maintain this lie, this illusion, this matrix. But that's just my theory about why people fear black anger and black aggression and violent sounds and violent utterances from black people. Not to say that other races can't make those sounds and don't have those utterances and don't have those capabilities. But that shit hit different when it's somebody with negritude. I mean, we always this is why people always talking. Like, I remember one time this guy, he wanted me to host a radio show, and he asked me not to say curse words. He didn't say that specifically. He didn't say specifically not to say curse words. He was like, Tila, I want you to. This was when I was going by Tila. He was like, Tila, I want you to host my radio show, but I don't want you to, I don't want you to talk like that. I want you to talk like you be talking, like in our meetings. And so basically, to talk in my, you don't want me to eat that greasy pork chop. Because when I eat that greasy pork chop, it makes the people who are trying to maintain this illusion feel uncomfortable because it's a little bit too raw. It's a little bit too real. It's a little bit too much wholeness. And you know what's a part of wholeness, right? When we play the whole tape, when we speak about wholeness, wholeness is life and death. It is creation and destruction. Come on. That's all I got for y'all. Love y'all. Down but now that I say cool, it keeps spinning and turning in Gandhi and Yanko Kalupalo, which means I'm a chat. I got this today. Talk to y'all soon.